Hello and welcome back to the back nine of the final round of the 2025 Brewster Ridge Open driven by Innova. This is a Disc Golf Pro Tour Q Series events, A tier at the beautiful Fox Run Meadows and Brewster Ridge courses. I'm Emily Dale, joined by Nathan Johnson.
Yeah, a lot on the line. Silver cards for the Pro Tour for 2026. Q Series points to qualify for the finale, so a lot at stake for these players. Paul Krans still leading the way. He's got himself a 5-stroke cushion heading into the last 9 holes of this tournament. Lead card hasn't done too much as far as putting pressure on, but Shane McCullen is making a move up the leaderboard as well as a couple other players. So still a lot that can happen here in these last 9 holes, especially given the amount of difficulty and challenge that this Fox Run Meadows course brings. Taking a look at hole 10 as we kick off this back 9, 295-foot par 3. Most players are going to take a nice stable fairway driver, throw a nice wide forehand, and let it stick onto this hill for hopefully a pretty easy birdie.
And that is a great shot there from Whit.
Yeah, good distance control for him, good width. Obviously, there is out of bounds on both sides of this fairway, so can come into play depending on if you saw it off or pull it a little too wide. But these guys so far, both of them, have that distance and angle control dialed in. Nice shot for Jesse as well.
Not surprisingly, this hole plays very similarly to hole 6 back on the front nine. And if you didn't watch that, just please go do that now. Pause.
Yeah,
I'll be here when you get back.
Please go watch it.
But very similar. Hole average, but also shot shape as well. Just kind of a chip hyzer around 300-ish feet.
Yeah, and the scoring average is similar. Also, 2.55 average, second easiest hole on the course. Whit's got himself about a 25-footer for his birdie, able to connect nicely. Gets him back to even par for the round after a roller coaster start.
Good birdie from Jesse as well. Trying to fight his way back after that double on 7.
Yeah, I felt like Jesse had a really good amount of momentum going into, kind of the middle of this course and came to a bit of a screeching halt there on hole 7. Short putt left for Axel here, looking to complete the star frame, and another short putt missed for him.
Yeah, that one definitely hurts. Especially with the rest of the card taking birdies being the last to putt. You gotta shake it off and keep on trucking. All right.
Drum roll, please.
What's your thought? Who won the Bro Championship in 2013?
Steve Brewster. Oh, my first guess was right. No.
Always stick with your gut. Did you get it right? Do you like this trivia? Let us know in the comments what you think.
Taking a look here at hole 11, 575-foot par 4. Most players are going to look to bite off a good amount of distance here to make this upshot as short as possible. They got to pitch it over the hill and down this slope with OB surrounding the green. So the shorter the upshot you can take, the easier it gets because you can throw that nice slow disc into the green and land it softly.
Good shot there, right in the middle of the fairway from Whit.
Jesse going big here. This is looking a little bit left, but I think he has enough distance to maybe get past that out of bounds. Nope. Finds the tall grass, and nothing is going to roll back down that slope, unfortunately. So going to be scrambling after that. Paul, this is looking like a picture-perfect drive for him.
Axel going a little bit wider, which might pinch him a little bit, but that's a great shot.
Yeah, so forehand or turnover putter into the green is kind of your only two options. Whit pulls that one a little bit wide. It's tough to get the angle right as you enter the screen. There's a lot of kind of random trees that you have to dodge. Paul also pulling his a bit wide. That is the safer side to miss on, as that right side OB does come up fairly quickly.
So here's what Axel's working with. So you can see it's kind of a steeper angle being over there on the right-hand side of the fairway, but he makes good work of it. It'll just be a long downhill putt with some scary OB behind. No big deal. And Jesse got way up here that he's just looking at a jump putt down the hill to try to save a par.
Yeah, that is the benefit of the distance that he has. Just pitches up and has a short tap in for par. So should be no harm, no foul. These guys are probably not running these 60 footers downhill. Quite a bit of danger behind, although Paul looks like he wants to give it a go.
Honestly, good result though. Hitting the top of the basket, you never know where it's gonna go. But thankfully, the flag kept it close for him, safe. Axel giving it a run as well, snagging chains, and good par save for Jesse.
Yeah, still just can't quite find the putt for Axel. He's been throwing the disc really well off the tee, but hasn't been able to connect on some of these mid-distance putts. And kind of the putts like right here, this little 14-footer has been giving him trouble so far today. He's got to make sure to keep that hand on the pole, follow through.
Good coaching.
He can definitely hear me right now.
Absolutely.
You know, so. Pars all around for the card there. Not too bad of a score on that slightly difficult hole. Heading into hole 12, the par 4 version of this hole. Playing from the short tee pad, players are going to look to lay up short of this out of bounds area for their tee shot, setting up a longer second shot in the 400-foot range into this green. Full 2-shot hole here, and playing pretty difficult on the day at a 4.38 average.
This is going to need to fight back a little bit for him. It's going to be a challenging angle from there for him to really attack the green with that wall of trees in front of him.
Yeah, probably going to have to go turnover or big forehand, depending on what the angle looks like. You'd like to be about 20 feet left of where Whit landed to really set up the ideal angle into the green. This one's looking good from Jesse if it sticks on the hill. Yeah, that should be okay.
This is looking great as well. Gets him right up there in the middle of the gap.
Yeah, that's perfect. Right on that hill, right in the middle of the fairway. Paul basically have nothing in the way. Into the green, he can just kind of throw a nice straight shot at it. That should be fine for Axel as well. His forehand here is a little scarier for Jesse because it's going to be carrying the OB for much longer than a backhand would. But that's well thrown.
Yeah, you can see the wind starting to rip again. Like you mentioned before, there's not a lot of elevated baskets as you might see at other courses, but there are a lot of these built up ones where it feels higher just because of the platform that it's kind of built into. And did that come back in bounds for Paul?
I think just barely. It looks like it's straddling the line for Paul. So fortunate break for him. Kind of surprised to see him go to the forehand there. Axel, this one's leaking out left, but does stay inbounds. I don't know what kind of putt he's going to have with some of those trees in the way.
And here's that really awkward angle that Whit was left with. Good execution there with a turnover. goes a little bit long and finds the OB there on the right-hand side of the fairway.
Yeah, that was looking so nice, but just never really came out. Just held that anhyzer the whole way until it was too late.
Yeah, it was a tough shot shape to execute. Can he do it again?
Only 100 footer per round is allowed. No, can't be going over the quota too much. So this is a par save now coming back for Whit. Spins it into the headwind.
Putt.
Nice touch on that one to just kind of give it that little bit of float, a little bit of nose up angle, and just rode the wind perfectly.
So here's a chance for Jesse to gain a stroke. And unfortunately cannot connect. He'll have to settle for par.
Yeah, just another missed opportunity for Jesse. I think that's probably the third or fourth circle's edge putt we've seen him miss today. And the deficit is 5. So if he's on one, he would be right there making a push for Paul, but just hasn't quite had the putter feeling good enough to make a good run at this thing.
With that said, checking in, we have some hot rounds on the board. 5 under from Shane McCullen and Wyatt Mahoney.
Yeah, making some moves. Shane still in a tie for 4th with a couple of folks. Heading into hole 13, par 3 at 350 feet. Just looking to throw a nice, stable fairway driver down this fairway with a little bit of finish at the end. Hopefully get a skip up the slope back towards the basket on the left-hand side.
So it's looking like a good shape here from Jesse. Hopefully he can get some ground play into the basket. It'll be obstructed, but I think he should have a short look there.
This is looking like a little early for Paul. We'll see if it... Yep, kind of just right over there near where Jesse ended up. Gonna have a couple of trees in the way to navigate. This looks like a little bit more forward push from Axel, which is really what you're looking for on this hole. And that gets a great skip as well.
Tap in birdie for him.
Kind of a trick shot putt here for Paul from the knee. Gonna look to spin it around this tree. Can't connect, so another chance for Jesse to make up a stroke.
There we go. Good connection. And that'll get him to 3 down on the round. And only 4 back from the leader.
Yeah, nice circle's edge look for him. High in the chains, nice and confident. 4 strokes with 5 to play. Still very doable, especially with what we know. Holes 16 and 18, both very demanding and plenty of opportunities for 2-stroke swings. So this thing is definitely not over by any means, but Jesse's definitely going to have to get some birdies if he wants to make a move, I don't see Paul making any major mistakes that would lead to a huge number. So he's going to have to earn it if he wants to give himself a chance at this one. Heading into hole 14, a 380-foot par 3, players can either go for this up the gut route or the wide hyzer and swing it back at the end if they want a look for birdie.
Jesse definitely has the power to take something wide and skip in. Which looks like what he's doing here might be a little too high, though, and it's going to get caught up in those branches.
Yep, just a bit too high. If you probably 10 feet lower, that might sneak through a little bit more. Axel looks like he's going for the straight at it line. This kind of needs to flip up a bit, though.
Or get some tree love. He dropped kind of in like a pathway, so he'll have an open putt. It'll just be a little bit longer for him.
Yep, probably in that 50 to 60 foot range. Whit, this one's looking very similar. Probably going to find that left side.
This is looking like a good angle here from Paul.
Yeah, get some good ground play too, which you don't always see on this hole with the slope and good amount of roots. So it's got the best look of the group. Just a couple long pitch ups for these two guys. And we'll see here in a sec what Jesse's looking at.
Looks like another circle's edge-ish putt. And good connection. It seems like he found his groove with those longer putts and gets another stroke.
Yeah, 2 in a row with temporarily lead down to 3. Paul does still have a birdie look of his own, but it looks like he's got some trees in his way. Gonna have to straddle out to the left.
Yeah, these ones are frustrating where it's right there. It's not a long putt, but you have to finagle something to make it work comfortably.
Yeah, definitely can't go with his normal putting style. Oh, just didn't quite get the follow through there.
Yeah, so that makes things interesting here. We have only 3 holes left and a 3-stroke deficit. Sorry, 4 holes left. Math.
I know, I had to count all my fingers earlier trying to figure out how many holes we had left in the tournament, so I don't blame you. Taking a look at hole 15, 315-foot par 3. Very straight fairway for the first 3 quarters and then a sharp right turn at the end. This is a pretty stock forehand shape for most of these players, but still a narrow gap to hit. So got to pick that nice, stable, comfortable fairway driver that you've got and hit that gap and let the disc do the work. This is looking good from Jesse.
That'll do.
A little tree love at the end never hurt anybody. Takes his 25-footer to a park job. And he's looking at 3 in a row right now and definitely putting the pressure on Paul.
This one leaking a little bit long. Shouldn't be too bad there for Axel.
Yeah, he'll still have a look coming back at it. Whit now. This one is a little wide.
Hugging that side of the fairway and parking the hole. These players are making this gap look much bigger than it feels like in person.
Yeah, this is definitely a narrow hallway. Probably no more than 10 or 12 feet across the entire way. So first 3 hit it, Paul, showing us that it is much harder than it looks. And now he's got to scramble to save the par and not lose more than 1 stroke with Jesse under the basket. That's a good recovery shot.
Great connection there from Axel.
Yeah, connecting on a longer putt for him. He's got 2 of his last 3, turning it on late, looking to secure that third place spot, maybe even make a push for Jesse if he slips up in second.
Way to minimize the damage there from Krans, knowing that Jesse is pretty much parked for birdie here.
Yeah, deficit just like that. It's going to be down to 2 with 3 holes left. So anything can happen, really. This thing kind of seemed out of reach, but 3 in a row from Jesse, 3 pars in a row from Paul, and we have a ball game just like that.
And some challenging holes coming up, but look at that round from Shane McCullen. 8 down through his round. Great shot so far.
Things are getting interesting here as we fly over hole 16, 715-foot par 4. Objective here is you got to keep it in the middle. Anything off to the left or right sides of the fairway is most likely going to result in a pitch out because of this OB area that the drone just flew over. You're going to want to set up the big second shot into the green. This is a very demanding hole, obviously one of the most difficult holes on the course at a 4.85 average.
Good shot there. Gets him in the fairway.
Yeah, nicely thrown from Axel. Jesse just had a great opportunity here to keep the pressure on, but pulled his tee shot quite a bit. This one looks nice from Whit as well. I'm sure it'll get a nice curl back. Yep, a little bit of curl back at the end to keep him on the edge of the fairway. So Paul, maybe a little bit of a breathing a sigh of relief now with Jesse out of position.
Yeah, we saw him lace this in round 1. And hoping to do the same, but unfortunately early release and finds a early tree on the fairway, somehow on the tee pad.
Actually a great break.
Yeah.
Just the best footing you're going to get on this hole by far is right on this tee pad, so he can pretty much just lay this one up. And yeah, that's a perfect layup. So back in position, will have a chance to save his par from there.
Jesse really is just going to have to pitch out and try to get himself back into position to save a par.
Looks like he kicked way right, so still going to have a lot to get through just to get back out.
Great effort, though. Great shot there to get him back out into the fairway. It'll still be a long look to save par for his third shot.
Yeah, and being on that right side of the fairway means he's got to kind of go with a bit of a turnover and just going to opt for the layup. That is an interesting decision from there, especially with the deficit being 2 right now.
This is pretty much an ideal landing zone on the drive for Axel. Gives him an open look at the basket for birdie. Doesn't give it quite enough juice, but he'll have an open look there.
Yeah, this upshot is still playing pretty long for these players in the high 300-foot range, just because you can't really bite off that much distance off the tee. So still a very demanding up and down, even if you are in position from back here. Big shot for Paul, looking to save a par. It's going to come up a bit short, right out in that 50 to 60 foot range, most likely.
So like you mentioned, it's still playing long. Jesse still has a lot of work to do. That means to try to save a bogey.
Yeah, and this one looks like it's a bit too much hyzer. It's going to be fading out left. Oh, but no. Pushed straight pretty nicely. That's going to be a shorter putt than I was thinking based on the angle he released that on.
Oh, a little annoying roll away, but not too much left there for a Whit.
Yeah, big putt here for Paul. Got a chance at a par from about 50. Just high.
So this is an important putt for Jesse as well. Knowing there's potential to kind of keep that same stroke difference.
As long as Jesse can keep it within 2 going into 18, he's going to have a chance. And with Paul basically next to the basket for bogey, it's looking like we're going to have the lead remain at 2 strokes going into hole 17.
Yeah, these last 2 finishing holes are also no gimmies, so who knows what will happen.
Yes, hole 17, 400-foot par 3, big spike hyzer or right to left moving shot for these players. Completely blind from the tee, so you kind of just have to have that tree in the distance that as your aiming point and trust the disc to get back to the left at the right time. You see a lot of players end up pushing 2 straight and finding that out of bounds on this hole. But if you swing it just a bit too wide.
That was, come on, back in for him. I was going to say that was some terrible ground play for Axel. Thankfully, it does roll its way back into the fairway.
Yeah, he'll have a long birdie putt from there. Always an interesting decision on this hole as well, whether or not players want to run those longer birdie putts with the downhill slope and slightly built up green. Whit swings that wide. That tee shot a bit too wide. He's going to find the out of bounds long.
Important shot for Jesse here. That'll do.
Yeah, picture perfect for Jesse. It's going to leave him a very short birdie putt. It's what he needed to do. Basically has to birdie the last 2 holes and hope Paul makes a mistake if he wants any chance at a playoff. This one looks pretty good for Paul as well. Skips it off the base and absolutely parks it.
Whit giving that a run. Thankfully, it stays close and doesn't get legs there, which happens pretty quickly on these angled greens.
Yeah, looks like Axel's lining this one up. Could be a dangerous putt. Just a bit off left side. Didn't quite commit to that one. So tap in birdies from Jesse and Paul. Looks like we are going to have indeed a 2-stroke deficit going into hole 18.
Going into this round, I would have been very surprised to hear you say that. Yeah. Looking at how clean Paul is playing, he just made some mistakes today, but thankfully keeping that lead. I mean, things can still happen on 18, though.
Of course, yeah.
Big numbers can stack up very quickly.
Yeah, we've seen it from top pros. That tee shot is so demanding, and the green is dangerous, so it can be a recipe for that big number if you aren't careful. Taking a look at the hole, we're talking about 18 here at Fox Run Meadows. Big, wide hyzer over the OB on the right-hand side will hopefully land you anywhere down here at the bottom of the hill, most likely setting up the wide left to right moving shot into the green. Just so demanding. Tough to deal with this swirling winds that are inevitably out there on this hole, and to boot, you got the whole crowd of players, everybody who's already finished up watching you from the bottom of the hill and cheering you on. So a lot of pressure. Big moment for Jesse. He's got to put this one inbounds to start if he wants any chance of forcing a playoff or taking home the win here.
Going big. This is looking great. That can just get down and check up. And it does. And that'll put him on a favorable side of the fairway, being able to open up the nice chip forehand for him into the green.
Yeah, great shot from Jesse. Can also put him in a position where he could try to throw it in if he needs to, if Paul especially puts himself in a favorable position as well. This looks a bit high. We'll see if it gets down in time. Living on the edge. Yeah, that was close. Much closer than I'm sure he would have liked. But the left side is the miss. You don't want to go OB right on this hole because then you're essentially re-teeing, making very little progress. This is a great shot from Axel. Just puts himself right in the middle.
Just looking a little bit low. It needs to get some air under it to get back in bounds, and unfortunately does not.
Yeah, tough mistake for Whit. Not going to progress very far down that fairway, so going to go with the safer option this time. That's the forehand. And as long as this one skips back inbounds, he should be okay. Yeah. So at this point, Paul, being inbounds, just needs a par here to force Jesse to throw in. So just going to opt for the forehand here. Play it short. Most likely can just lay that putt up from there. And he'll, barring a miracle from Jesse Longenecker, is most likely going to be the champion of this tournament.
Yeah, Jesse had a lot of opportunities out here today, but just couldn't quite connect on those. Left Paul with, I wouldn't say a comfortable lead, but I think he was getting nervous there heading throughout this course in the final round, but held on after having a really strong tournament overall.
Yep, so to force a playoff, essentially, Jesse's got to make this one, and it comes up just a bit short, so that's going to be a tap-in birdie for him. Still a great event. And in a really solid final round. Still, if he makes that putt, we'll put him at 6 under, which is no joke here at Fox Run. Axel looking to finish his round with a birdie. Unfortunately, just a bit off, and he's going to be left with a long comebacker back up the hill.
Looks like that one stayed close for him. Paul just laying it up to take his win. Very well done. Like I said, this tournament has been so clean, and he really just had his foot to the gas the whole time.
Yeah, clutched up at the end, too, with some important birdies, important shots down the stretch. Another congrats to Jesse Longenecker on a fantastic tournament of his own. Just coming up one stroke short of yet another A-tier win in his career. But the man of the weekend is this man right here, now 2-time Brewster Ridge Open champion, Paul Krans.
two-time Brewster Ridge Open champion, Paul Krans.
Yeah, you can see the relief, a lot of pressure on him, but such a great job. Really pleasure to watch from this entire field, honestly, out here.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of new faces on our coverage this week. It was, saw some great courses. Always a great time up here at Smugglers Notch. Appreciate all that put this tournament on and maintain these courses every year. It is truly a pleasure.
Yeah. And just to plug, we do have the Heiser Classics presentation of the 2024 CCR Open coming soon. So keep an eye on that. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see those throwback coverage that we like to bring out. And we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.